This is the CBS Evening News. Susan Spencer reporting. Good evening. After 8.5 years of war and an estimated 50,000 casualties, Soviet troops today began their agonizing pullout from Afghanistan. A pullout that was part dangerous journey and part parade. Tom Fenton describes the scene.
The first convoy of 1,200 Soviet troops pulled up stakes in the eastern provincial capital of Jalalabad early this morning. They endured a day-long ride over treacherous roads through rebel-infested mountains. The pace of the withdrawal is presenting major logistical problems to Soviet commanders. The roads through the country are mostly primitive, often blocked by rock slides. Moreover, the Afghan guerrillas show no signs of letting up their attacks, even though they have won a major victory. The United Nations has set up monitoring posts and stationed observers along the route, but they are powerless to prevent assaults by the Mujahideen. There were several attacks, but no casualties by the time the 300-vehicle convoy finally reached Kabul. If the current plans hold, half of the roughly 100,000 Soviet troops in Afghanistan will leave by the middle of August. The remainder are to pull back into the Soviet Union by the end of the year. At ceremonies in Kabul marking the official beginning of the troop withdrawal, Afghan President Najibullah thanked the Soviet Union for what he called its heroic feat in helping defend his government. There's no official word yet on the number of Soviet casualties during the 8-year-long war. Western estimates put the number close to 50,000. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Moscow.
For the Soviet people, this day has been a long time coming, and it's being greeted with a mixture of gratitude, relief, and some pride. Barry Peterson reports.
The Soviets slipped into Afghanistan in 1979, not even telling their own people about the invasion. But the withdrawal was shown on Soviet television tonight. These are the days of glasnost, of openness. The departure from Afghanistan is bringing a sigh of relief here in the Soviet Union, where Gorbachev and his government long ago realized this was a war that couldn't be won. The party line these days is to praise Gorbachev as the leader who got the Soviets out. And even better, he can claim to be the peacemaker when the summit with President Reagan begins here in 2 weeks. For most here, it is enough that the war is ending, even if it clearly wasn't a victory. Who won, he is asked. You Americans were in Vietnam, he answers. Who won there? This is a land of patriotism. The old march proudly with their World War II medals, but worry about the younger generation that went to war and those who came home scarred.
They're not singing the romantic songs of the Second World War. They're playing rock and roll and singing songs about the horrors of Afghanistan and why they wanted to get home.
The enemy fought under the banner of Islam, but at home goes this song. A Soviet mother cries out when she hears her son has fallen. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Moscow.
Coming up next, the search for answers in last night's tragic bus accident in Kentucky. 27 people died. And later on Inside Sunday, taking flight. How safe are the skies?
Listen to your mouth. That's the crunchy texture of a Triscuit. Now that's the delicious whole wheat taste of a Triscuit. Ooh. And that's the unique look of a Triscuit. They're made to take on any topping or no topping at all. Just listen to your mouth. Ah. That's the sound of a happy mouth. Triscuit. Listen to your mouth.
No one knows I just got dentures, and I don't want anything to blow it.
Fix-it and forget it.
Denture is candied everything, but with Fix-it, I can get a taste of the local flavor.
Fix-it and forget it. Fix-it helps fix loose spots for a strong hold that lasts longer than any leading cream.
I just got dentures, but it hasn't slowed me down.
Sergeant, bit of 45, want to hit 45, 45, here's...
Use Fix-it and forget it.
Mom, listen. Well, of course you'll hardly hear anything. It's my new Whirlpool dishwasher. Cleans great and it's so quiet. Mom, what's all that noise? Oh, it's your dishwasher.
Carol Burnett's sister.
I'm Christine Burnett. Am I funny? No. Does my investment firm, Dean Witter, still treat me like a star? Uh-huh.
You're somebody, a Dean Witter.
A member of the Sears Financial Network.
In Carrollton, Kentucky, relatives of victims of a fiery crash of a church bus came to identify their dead and wounded today. 27 people were killed, most of them teenagers trying to escape. Harold Dow reports.
It was one of the worst bus accidents in U.S. history. It happened shortly after 11 p.m. A pickup truck traveling in the wrong direction on Interstate 71. The vehicle slammed into this church bus, loaded with teenagers returning from a night of fun at an amusement park. Shortly after impact, the bus burst into flames. Some of the 67 passengers were able to escape, but others were trapped inside, unable to get the emergency door open. Other motorists who stopped to help could hear the screams of children. They also smelled gasoline.
We got a total of 9 kids off the bus before the second tank went off in the bus, and there's just too much flame, too much heat.
Hearing of the accident, some parents rushed to local hospitals where there was confusion as to who was injured and who was dead. Others went to the First Assembly of God Church in Radcliffe to pray and console each other. In addition to the dead, over 30 children were injured.
Some people that tried even to get out the windows said they liked to talk about it. It made them feel a little bit better, but it was a pretty ghastly thing, I'm sure, for them.
Investigators are still trying to figure out how this tragedy happened. The driver of the pickup truck is reported to be in critical condition.
He was traveling north in the southbound lane, that we know for a fact.
But you don't know how he went.
We don't know how or where he got in that manner.
This morning, investigators used a crane to load the charred bus onto a flatbed truck. The bodies of the dead youngsters were still on board. The tarp-covered vehicle was taken to a National Guard armory, which is being used as a temporary morgue.
All the bodies are charred. Most of them are, you cannot recognize them.
The parents of those who were killed were asked to bring dental records and any other information that could help authorities identify the dead. Harold Dow, CBS News, Louisville, Kentucky.
Panamanian and U.S. officials alike confirmed today that talks to oust Panama's strongmen still are underway, but every passing day seems to bring another obstacle, as we hear from Deborah Potter at the White House.
President Reagan had no comment today on the effort to get Panama's General Noriega to leave power, but other administration officials said that negotiations continue. The U.S. has offered to drop drug charges against Noriega in exchange for his stepping down and leaving the country temporarily. But critics say it's a bad deal if Noriega's hand-picked president, Manuel Solis Palma, is allowed to stay in office.
There's no guarantee of the democracy, which is what we were supposedly caring about. He will leave his own president in. He will leave his own people in the Panamanian Defense Forces.
Well, that is one of the guarantees that the Noriega control continues fully in force. That's why I say, again, it's a lot of acrobatics for a total retreat.
Noriega told reporters on Friday he might run for president himself in the election set for next year, and his supporters say he'd be a popular candidate.
Even if he stopped being a general and member of the military, he still will be a political force because of the charisma that he has developed politically lately.
As the bargaining drags on, Noriega is said to be making new demands.
Now he is reportedly even asking for the removal of our U.S. ambassador. In other words, he's becoming more intransigent.
U.S. officials are clearly distressed that the negotiations ever became public, but they still believe they can work out an acceptable deal to get Noriega out and let the Panamanian people choose their own political future. That may be a wildly optimistic scenario, said one official, but in his words, there is no other. Deborah Potter, CBS News, the White House.
Dedication. It's fundamental to success. And no one understands this better than Yo-Yo Ma, who since the age of 5 has been devoted to perfecting his art. This same dedication to the fundamentals is what drives Raytheon, because in electronics, aviation, appliances, and industry services, we believe quality starts with fundamentals.
This man takes vacations for a living. So he knows the best time to hit the beach. He knows which restaurants have the most to offer. And when the sun goes down, he knows just where to find just what he wants. It could happen to you right here in the U.S. So don't carry cash. Carry American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
If you're concerned about heart disease and your doctor advises exercise, the right foods, and an aspirin a day, you should know that heart specialists recommend Ecotrin more than Bayer when they're concerned about aspirin irritation because it's safety coded. Ecotrin, the one heart specialists recommend.
There has always been a big Mercedes. Automobiles that have inspired dreams. The Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Nothing less than the best of every big Mercedes there ever was.
Tonight on Inside Sunday, taking flight. What is going on in the troubled aviation industry with private planes, commuter airlines, and of course, the majors? Here's one clue. The average age of jets today is 20% higher than it was a decade ago. Robert Shackney reports.
The Boeing 737 Aloha Airlines jet was 19 years old when its fuselage ripped open in midair 2 weeks ago. It had landed and taken off more than 90,000 times, an airplane approaching old age. The near disaster has raised questions about the safety of other aging passenger planes.
We are pushing the aircraft to its end limits, and these planes can't last forever.
Planes may not last forever, but airlines are trying to make them last longer. In the cost-conscious age of deregulation, carriers postpone replacing older planes with costly new ones. While average age varies from airline to airline, half the jets in the U.S. passenger fleet are now more than 16 years old, and they're showing their age.
They are fatiguing more, showing the signs of stress more, so you absolutely must spend more time looking for those problems and correcting them, repairing them before they can become critical.
A jet airliner is subject to massive stress. Pressurization expands and contracts the fuselage each time the plane flies. Bolts, rivets, doors, and joints wear out. But airplane manufacturers design their jets for exactly that kind of stress. A plane, they say, can fly forever.
As long as you maintain the airplane, there may come a point where you have to replace a part. But it can be done.
By way of proof, airplane makers point to the 50-year-old DC-3. It's more than just a museum piece. A handful of DC-3s are still carrying passengers on short commuter runs. But no propeller-driven DC-3 was ever subject to the stresses the high-flying passenger jet deals with every day. And most didn't fly in the age of shrinking airline profits and the tighter budgets for maintenance.
It's not the problem of the aging aircraft so much as it is a problem of maintenance capability being less than it should be in airlines who have been buffeted by deregulation.
And what about the FAA, the government agency that's supposed to make sure airlines spend and inspect and maintain as they should?
The FAA is handicapped by having too few people in the field.
We only have the opportunity to spot check. We cannot check continuously all events, all places. Events will happen.
The military continuously monitors its high-performance warplanes for metal fatigue with black box flight recorders. Civilian airlines don't. After Aloha Flight 243, says a prominent Navy aviation expert, maybe that thinking should change. Robert Shackney, CBS News, Washington.
But if there are problems monitoring the majors, what about the smaller commuter airlines, which have really taken off since deregulation? Their accident rate last year was far worse than that of the big airlines, as Gary Reeves reports.
Flight 3734 was service to White Plains in Hartford Springfield. It's now ready for passenger boarding.
The commuter airline ticket counters and paint schemes look a lot like the big airlines because they are intended to. But there are differences that extend beyond the size of the airplanes.
I came in on a jet from Orlando to Philadelphia, and then they put me on this little puddle jumper to here.
How do you feel about that?
I didn't like it.
Like them or not, commuter airlines now carry 3 times more passengers than 10 years ago, serving the smaller cities abandoned by major airlines since deregulation. But in the last year, Their accident rate has leaped to 3 times that of the majors, prompting the FAA to launch a year-long safety investigation of the commuters.
Anyone who says that the growth we've experienced from deregulation has caused a decrease in our safety margins is simply talking through their hat.
But critics say one factor in the rapid expansion has created a major dilemma for the commuters.
With the incredible growth has come the problem of keeping pilots on the job. Of the 5,300 commuter airline pilots in America, industry figures show 4,000 of them were hired just last year.
Some of the commuters literally have become training academies for the major airlines.
And federal officials who've investigated commuter crashes point to pilot error as a major cause.
Some of the problems that we've seen in the commuter accidents involve some very fundamental things about flying.
Safety is no accident. You have to work at it.
Dick Henson's commuter company has had one fatal accident in the 57 years since he started it. He says one of the major challenges facing his industry is training new pilots to replace the ones hired away by the major airlines.
Unpressurized flight will be found in chapter 4 in your flight manual.
And since the small companies can't afford multi-million-dollar flight simulators that let pilots practice flying in dangerous conditions, their pilot training lags behind. Henson and other commuters hope new, lower-cost trainers now being developed will help make their pilots better.
You got a human being in there, so you got to do your best to get that human being to react right.
But for now, commuter pilots are likely to remain less experienced and will often fly in more challenging conditions.
We will probably never match the safety record of the big jets flying into absolutely fully developed airports.
The commuter airlines may never match the safety records of their big brothers, but the pressure is on to make them safer than they are today. Gary Reeves, CBS News, Baltimore.
Many commuter pilots got their training first flying private aircraft. There are 300,000 private pilots today, but given the turbulence in that industry, some question how many will take to the skies tomorrow.
I've always been an addict, call it if you want, in aviation, and it's just euphoric. There's a certain amount of freedom.
Clear, clear.
I've never tired of it.
How do you hear 7.5?
Wayne Choper zooms around the spring sky in a plane he's had for 34 years, a simple single-engine aircraft. The Air Force trains cadets in rugged little planes like this. Commercial airlines all require flying experience, and this is generally how pilots get it. So you'd think the industry would be flying high. The industry is in a nosedive. It built 14,400 piston-powered single-engine planes in 1978 and 613 last year. Cessna has quit altogether. Piper dropped its famous Cub years ago, and Beech markets only a souped-up single engine, not exactly a trainer aircraft.
Bonanza value was epitomized in the F-33A. Beech quality and comfort at a remarkable price.
The remarkable price is part of the problem. $135,000 for the Bonanza, at least half that for a simpler single-engine airplane. The industry blames its liability costs, which have skyrocketed in the last decade, although accidents in small planes actually are down.
Product liability is what's happened in our court system, that a manufacturer gets sued practically every time there is an aircraft accident involving a fatality or serious injury, and that it's not always the manufacturer's fault.
With much of the U.S. industry in the doldrums, the fleet of small planes aging, and a shortage of trainer aircraft looming, foreign companies have moved in. The West Germans and the French, who have a new assembly plant in Texas. And going against the trend, Piper has decided to try to bring back the Cub.
If I'm successful at that and develop a new and expanding market for it, then I will have sufficient sales to support the costs of product liability.
About 100,000 people this year will want to spread their wings and learn to fly. Some for fun, some the commercial pilots of tomorrow. The outlook for the planes that have made that possible?
We're touch and go.
Touch and go. Do a touch and go. That'll give me a chance to get out.
Industry industry spokesman will tell you that the overall outlook for aviation is not touch and go, that though there were 31 major airline accidents last year, 11 more than the year before, it still was among the safest years yet. The concern of critics is simply that the luck holds, given the pressures on the entire aviation system. That's our news. Dan Rather will be here tomorrow with the CBS Evening News, and later on tonight, Bill Plant with the CBS Sunday Night News. I'm Susan Spencer. Have a nice evening.
Got a guy here wants to sell us a desktop publishing system?
We already have one.
Well, he says his is easy to learn.
Not easier than ours.
Claims that he can rig it to all our computers.
We didn't have to rig ours.
Says his makes great documents, fast.
You mean like ours?
He says his system makes sense for business. Not for ours.
Personal publishing on the IBM Personal System 2.
Fat chance. Finding a faucet made as well as a price fister. After all, it's the one made in its own USA foundry. The one uniquely fashioned with a heart of solid brass. Start to finish, the quality is first rate. Furthermore, the cost is a fraction of what you'd expect. So why fiddle around? Get a price fister. The fabulous faucet with a funny name.
For Post Natural Brand Flakes, Lena Horne on getting the best out of life.
Taking care of my voice, body, and taste buds is what keeps the brass in this horn.
Reach for the best tasting high fiber brand flake. Post Brand Flakes at their best.
This man is twice as strong as this man. Tums EX is twice as strong as Rolaids. So Tums neutralizes twice the stomach acid. Tums EX, twice as strong as Rolaids.
This is CBS.
Coming up on Eyewitness News, at least 27 people are dead in northern Kentucky today following one of the worst bus crashes ever. We'll have a report from Carrollton, Kentucky. Joe Casey wants a department insider to take his place, and we'll tell you more about why Metro's police chief decided to take an early retirement. Those stories and trouble with trails in the Smokies. Eyewitness News is next.
We share the spirit of
From Nashville's news station, this is Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm John Lindgren. 27 people are dead following one of the worst bus crashes in U.S. history. Late last night, a church bus and a pickup truck collided in a fiery explosion outside Carrollton in northern Kentucky. The National Transportation Safety Board is now at the scene, trying to find out why the truck driver was in the wrong lanes. Ed Blair has more in this report.
The bus was engulfed in flames upon impact with the pickup truck. A number of passengers